Aye, boom! This is the long-awaited Holy Grail video. The complete and ultimate guide to UK drill 808s. Today, we are going to be talking about how to mix your drill 808s, sound selection for drill 808s, 808 patterns, slides, different types of slides, and finally we're going to top it off with examples from beats, including an FLP from Camshot on which he sent us. So we do have a lot to cover today, and I appreciate it if you can stick around and just watch the full video and take everything in. But of course, you know, before we get into the sauce, make sure you smash the like button. It helps me out a lot, and it will help out other producers as well, because YouTube will show the video to more people. And of course, if it's your first time watching me, hit the subscribe button. I upload tutorials every Tuesday and Friday. A couple of PSAs I'd want to address just before I start talking about anything. I do not think I am the ultimate superhero drill 808 God. I'm quite simply just trying to let everyone know any information that I know that I've collected over the past 2 or 3 years of making drill beats. And I could potentially miss a thing or two in this video because it is hard to just remember everything that I want to say. Listen, I'm not a professor of music, I'm not a doctorate of music, I'm just trying to let everyone know anything that I know. So let's just get cracking with this, yeah? Alright, the first thing we are going to cover is sound selection. Now, so many people ask me, how do I pick the right 808? How do I know if an 808 sounds good? To be honest, it's all pretty subjective. Of course, there's no just definite right and wrong answer to this, and it's technically personal preference. And 808s that I tend to not like or stay away from are 808s that have a lot of high, obnoxious, distorted kind of high end. I'm going to show some examples right now of some songs that have good drill 808s in my opinion, and songs that have bad drill 808s in my opinion, and hopefully that can maybe clarify a couple of things.
We double park in Central, was shining, man, okay, that fine.
Studio stereo, and they came to the old get blam, but that's for the 992 king KO. KO, like ice at the sun. Think I'm liking that nigga.
Now, 808s that I enjoy.
Quick, like, do me a favor. Let's let round over equipment, sniff to try run, just back this teaser. I can
gloves, then I gotta use socks. Aye, a man at college, yuck. R6 way too hot.
This is just one placement from Ghosty, but listen, any beat with Ghosty's 808s are crazy.
Call for something, I beg man, don't stall for nothing. I heard there were 4 ups coming, flipped it, now we got 4.
Okay, so that was a quick history lesson of what I like and what I don't like. This can help when you're choosing an 808. This is a way to check if your 808 is a little bit detuned. You can come in and click edit and pitch corrector. So then in here, it will show you what note is actually hitting on the 808. There's this free VST called Span, basically like a visualizer, an 808 note. But of course, when it comes to sound selection, of course, there is better quality 808s. So sound selection, honestly, just keep testing them. Ask other producers as well what they think of this 808. Next, we are getting into mixing. Now listen, this is like asking me how long a piece of string is. There's so many different ways that you can mix 808s. I'm just going to show you some techniques that I use. First thing we're going to talk about are EQs. I know a lot of people that use different kind of EQs. For me, I literally just use the standard fruity EQ. EQs are low-key one of the most important effects that you can put on your 808. And to be quite honest, it's kind of like a trial and error kind of run for this. I normally like to duck a little bit of the bass, boost the low mids, and I'd probably boost somewhere up here as well. This is going to be a very, very rough estimate. I have a preset saved of the EQ that is like perfect for this 808. EQs on every 808 are going to be different. Generally, I'd probably have one EQ doing something along these lines, ducking maybe a little bit later in the bass, bringing up the low mids a little bit higher. And then this is the EQ that you want on nearly every 808. You want to be taking away about 30 hertz. And this little EQ here can make your slides sound so much better. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know the whole technical reason behind it. There's also this feature that I don't know if a lot of people know about inside of Fruity EQ that you can do. If you right click on any of these bands and then click key, so I can go to the key of C, or it's like the frequencies of the key of C. I'm not really sure, but you can do this when you're using EQs and stuff. Next, I want to talk about effects that you actually put on the 808. So this is going to include like reverb, chorus, flanger, bass boost, gross beat stuff. If you listen to UK drill recently, you will know that there is a lot of reverb on 808s, and people are starting to add reverb to 808s. And if you don't make drill, then that might sound a little bit crazy to you. Reverb on 808s is kind of low-key sauce. Now I just use standard fruity reverb. You always want to bring the bass down. You don't want your bass and your reverb on. Mess around with the high cut, mess around with the low cut. Literally all it is just experimenting until you see something that you like. Obviously that's a little bit too much. Just about experimenting with these effects. Next thing I want to talk about is fruity chorus. Now chorus can make your 808 sound a little bit more full. It can add a lot of width to your 808. And for me, I literally add fruity chorus to the 808, and then I literally just cycle through whichever presets that are already in the fruity chorus banks. And then you also just want to mess around with the mix level until you find something that just sits nice on the 808. The low enhanced preset's pretty nice. You can kind of hear that it's just adding that extra bit of width to it. There's a stock plugin again called Bass Boost. And again, this is all just trial and error. You just want to boost a certain frequency, change the mix amount on it again until you get something that you like. Now, I'm going to give you one bit of sauce from Growth Speed. This preset right here, static flange. And then also, fruity flanges does sort of phase your 808s a little bit, so you would want to kind of be careful with this. All the effects that I would add to my 808. Next, I want to talk about saturation and compression. Now, the first saturation plugin I want to talk about, and I have been talking about for probably the past like year and a half, is Ferric TDS. You can literally just turn the dynamics and the saturation up. This is a free VST. You can download it. And you can already tell that it just boosts the 808 so much. Saturation and compressors are to help obviously boost your 808, make it louder. One thing I do want to say, Ferric TDS, not available for Mac. Next, when it comes to compression, you can use different things, to be honest. Ones, I either use Fruity Compressor, or you can get the multi-band compressor. Presets in here that you can use for it. Lastly is Maximus. Now, I actually don't use Maximus on my 808s anymore, but I did used to, because now I use Maximus on my master. We do want to touch on the limiter. The limiter can do so much. The limiter can literally do so many different things. Sometimes people's 808s can go crazy in terms of like peaking on different levels. You can literally just use a limiter to control this. So right here you can see the level of my bass note. Now sometimes people's slides would end up like hitting up in this region up here somewhere. So if you just have a ceiling lower, that controls the level and loudness of your 808. I don't understand. I'm really bad at explaining some of these things. Could I touch on sidechaining right now? I probably should because I'm inside of the limiter. Just want to come down here to the bottom. You want to right click this and click sidechain to this track. So 9 is my kick, 8 is my 808. Then the limiter is on the 808, and then you can come into the sidechain, and now you can see how much that's sidechaining when the kick hits. Again, you just kind of want to mess around with the threshold, the ratio. I would personally keep the knee like this, maybe if you want to adjust it ever so slightly. All right, these next two things comes hand in hand, and I want to talk about stereo shaping, and I want to talk about phasing. Basically, phasing in terms of your 808, the low end of your 808 in stereo, that tries going through speakers, it will phase, and basically it just won't sound good through speakers. Of course, in drill, your 808s are, to a certain extent, have that stereo shaping to them, where you need to make sure that your low frequencies are in mono. So, I'm going to start with the free option that I've talked about again in other videos that people still just don't understand. A1 stereo control. The first thing you want to do, you want a safe bass. Safe bass means everything in this frequency and below will be in mono. Every 808 is going to be different. Some 808s you could even probably do like 350 or something if you want. But for me, I'm just telling you, for me personally, I would go anywhere from 200, 120. And then you have this stereo width here that you can control. And normally I'd maybe turn this up to maybe like 120. So I actually personally don't use it, but I know a lot of people that do use it. And that is Ozone 9 Imager. Now this is literally the exact same, except in this you can get into way more detail, as you can select what frequencies changing, etc, etc. So I've just put down some markers here on the frequency spectrum. Each band controls this certain frequency. So first thing you want to do, you want to click stereoize. I think you normally turn it up. I'm not really an expert in Ozone Imager. I'm probably not the best person to be talking. Most drill producers do use this, and to be honest, I probably should learn this a little bit more. Okay, that took so long, and that is pretty much everything that I would put on my mixer chain for my 808s. So make sure you've liked the video by now, man. I'm dropping all this kind of knowledge that I have up here somehow. Now let's talk about patterns and everything else to do with 808s, slides, the whole shebang. Firstly, let's talk about scales and notes that I like to use for 808s. If you watch a lot of my tutorials, you know that I love the scale of A sharp minor because I love my 808 hitting on A sharp. I feel like A sharp is the perfect note for an 808. My 808s to be as low as possible. Of my 808s on F, F sharp, G, G sharp, I will repitch the melody so my 808s won't be hitting these notes for like the main note. Now, let me put you onto some major sauce, yeah. When trying to find the root note for your 808. So what you want to do, you want to put an EQ on your melody. And you want to kind of cut out everything except for the bass. I literally just consolidate it. Then in Edison, you want to come tools, convert to score and dump to piano roll. And then boom, all of a sudden you've got all the bass notes that are going to be used in the beat. So for me, this is how I like to do my 808s. I always need to know the scale of the beat that I'm in. So for this entire beat, these are the only notes I will be using. Now one other little bit of sauce as well. If you want to come into your envelope, sometimes people like to leave a little bit of attack on their 808 like this. And then there is another tension knob underneath in which you can mess around with as well. Really want to hear what it does? Alright, so many people are asking how to get creative with like slides, how to do crazy advanced slides, stuff like that. Like so many people have asked me how to do advanced slides. Like realistically, you don't need to do crazy ass slides. Like if you're trying to make these insane, crazy 909 patterns and stuff like that, I have a full video dedicated to 909s. Realistically, you just gotta place notes where it makes sense to place notes. You gotta think of the 808 as like another instrument. Think of the 808 as a piano. You wouldn't just put in random piano notes. You have to make sure that it makes sense sense. Bare foundation of any beat would probably be the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 7. I want to talk about the 5th and 7th. What I mean by this is, of every root note, there should be a 5th and a 7th. To be honest, I'm pretty sure this isn't even the right term, but I just call it 5th and 7th because it makes sense in my head. So if I put this 808 up 5, normally the 5th and the 7th, they're basically like other root notes or whatever way. I'm not sure. I don't know the musical terms for it. Sometimes they can just sound just as good as a bass note. So F sharp was the 5, G sharp is the 7. Obviously to slide, you need to click this button here, but also see a lot of people clicking portamento as well. And this is one of the most classic patterns of any 808 beat. People always use the notes that are right beside each other in the scale for slides because they create tension. Some other techniques, people turn the velocity of these bottom notes all the way down. Some people can also push these down like another octave. Then when it comes to your actual slide, I always offset them by 1, sometimes even 2, and then also mess with the actual length of the slides too. You can push that up. There, something like that. Now, if we want to start talking about types of slides, I mean, there's basically endless combinations. At the start of a bar, put that up and then come down to it. So it goes. Also, something I do want to mention is you can mess with velocities of slides and it can completely change the rhythm of it. Or sometimes you can have it like this. This is kind of like the delayed effect that people do with their 808s. Quicker if you want. Or you can make more of a stuttered effect with this, making them even smaller. Let's just try something like that. I don't even know if this is going to sound right. I know me and my community call them constipated 808s. You can also make changes to your actual root notes. So like, let's say like long slides up. I mean, I could sit here and draw in slides like all day. You gotta make sure that the slide makes sense. You gotta make sure that it fits either the melody, drum, it's gotta fit with the rhythm of everything. One little bit of sauce that I do want to touch on, and this can kind of get a bit hectic, and you can also then come to like channel pitch, and this is kind of where it gets a bit mad. Like you can just kind of start doing this and shit. Okay, now obviously you don't want it to sound like that, but I'm just showing what these actual channel pitch things are capable of doing. Tension notes are normally my go-to notes for sliding. Then you also want to think about your root note. I'd also like to use C because it's our root note. Then we can also use our 5th and 7th. And something that's actually pretty effective is when you're doing a lot of slides, have one or two notes that go back to the root note. So let's get rid of a slide and go back to the root note again. I hope I kind of explained that somewhat kind of good. My Busy Banks tutorial, but I just think that it's a great use of 808 slides. These 808s are constantly changing. These are 3 different patterns. Alright, what we have open here is the camshot FLP for that crazy beat that he made, the Warzone video. Now what we do want to look at here are the 808s. He's using 5 808s, and this is like the perfect example of how 808s can complement each other. And this is like next level advanced, being able to understand what 808s complement each other, what 808s work well with each other. Like even looking at his 808 patterns, like it's not like just constant slides, it's just correct placement, correct sound selection, and just a hint of genius as well. But listen, I am 2 hours into this recording. I've just spent 2 hours recording this thing. I feel like I probably have gone through this a little too quickly as well. Like I know I've just spent 2 hours, but I feel like I have missed stuff. I hope you have somewhat enjoyed this video. I hope it has been a little bit informative. Yeah, it's just one big creative process, man. You just gotta keep trying. It's just all about trial and error. Make sure you're subscribed. Run me up on Instagram and Twitch because they're the only 2 things I care about. I'm out. Good luck to you later. Bow.